cool. And no, 80. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Shortly after the movie comes out.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, do I need to be on?
No.
Oh,
We start the stream 5 minutes before.
Oh, gotcha.
And that part gets cut. Then we edit and produce the finished show. So we want to get it live out there. But then Suncast, my producer in Detroit, he puts an intro on that I record later, and then if there's any technical errors, he'll chop those out. In this case, we're at a Christian station. If you say a curse word, then we'll cut that out. You're not going to do that, so it'll be an easy edit job for Suncast, and we publish it for real the next day. But the stream being live, so to speak, what I do, I have this distribution model on Facebook. There's a lot of different groups for broadcast engineers. My show has a page. I have a page. There's engineering pages. There's the network that produces our show, the Guys from Queens Network, GFQ. And what we do is I just share it to these several different places. Okay. We have this distribution model is you can't miss us. Okay. If you're an engineer, yeah, you'll see the show. So I'm just waiting on it to show up here just any second. There we go. Yeah, we're live.
There we go.
Everybody live. We got about 5 minings to go, and we'll be on the air.
It seems like that medication might be wearing off.
I don't know why, but it feels that way. But I don't know why it is. What time is it?
12:41, almost 1.
Are you okay, Miss Donna?
It is wearing off. Yeah, that's almost 4 hours now.
But are you going to faint on us on the show? Okay.
I don't do that.
Okay. To make the show more exciting, that's Suncast. Suncast, say hi to everybody here. Donna, that's DAWNA. She'll be one of the first guests, and so will Damien, and his name is spelled a little differently, as I believe I sent it to you. Oh, yeah, okay, post-production, all right. Good deal. Okay, perfect. All right, now come on, where is... let me go back to... There we go. We'll share this to a group, to the broadcasting club. And, I know, it's like lots of TV transmitters.
And
And
from this world, it's amazing that now, with equipment you can have in your bedroom, you can have a live television show, podcast, radio, whatever you want to do.
who's got all this noise going on? We're trying to do a TV show here.
Well, do we need to turn the rings off? Because it's going to be...
Well, it is going to be chiming as those guys come back in here. That's true. So...
That's all right. We'll deal with it. And I'm going to use this mic. We have one mic to pass. It's just logistically easier. Let's see. Damien, can you scoot a little closer to Miss Donna? Okay. Oh, wait a minute. That's not the live picture. Let's go to the live picture next. Nope. Oh, stop it. Okay. I think I maybe posted that twice. We'll stop that. Okay. Leave that. Come on, really? Okay, there we go. You know what? This is you're familiar with this in Rio de Janeiro?
Yeah.
I haven't gotten to go up there yet, but our dealer had an apartment down here. He lived right down here, so you could see it. Actually, just off the right arm.
Okay.
But I didn't realize all these TV and radio transmitters were there.
You never see those in all of these shots of
because people try to avoid it. That's
right. But we radio nerds, we like that. We like that. All right. Now the camera is right there, so when we're talking to each other, we can look at each other's eyes, or if you want to address the audience, look there. Oh, I felt so. 1 minute. All right. Let's see. And do I have my email with the sponsors? Yes, I do. Okay. I'll flip to that every now and then.
Oh, that's your son.
Yeah, my son.
So this is the video we're sending there, and this is the return video. Hey, DJ. Come on in. How you doing?
What do you need, man? What's going on?
You want to see yourself on TV? There you go. That's you right there.
Go live, man.
We're gonna start in about 20 seconds.
What is this?
That's my coffee. Don't.
Oh yeah.
Step away. All right. If you don't need anything.
It's not for soccer practice. All right.
Probably what it is.
Also, in post, he makes my tummy look smaller in post production.
Yeah, sure. You can have it.
Is it the last donut?
Probably.
I think so. All right, it's about time. All right, hey everybody watching on the network live. We are just about to start This Week in Radio Tech. This is the part that we cut out. So if you don't see this on the replay tomorrow, then that's why we cut that out. It is time for episode 749. That means next week. By the way, we have an interesting guest next week too. Not that we don't this week, but next week our guest is famous ABC radio newsman and ham radio guy, Bob Hart. I'm Bob Hart, ABC News. Anyway, he'll be our guest next week. So, but this week we're going to be here in just a few seconds live from Oakwood University and WJOU. And we have some people here with the station. I'll introduce them in a minute. And we also have some technical people coming up. And that would be Josh Bone and Mike Hutchins. So I guess that's enough ado about nothing. We're going to start the show. We'll start the show in 3, 2. Hey, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech, the show where we talk about everything from the microphone to the light bulb at the top of the tower. Obviously, I'm not in my normal studio today, so I don't have a tower light here. What I have is a studio at WJOU. I'm Kirk Harnack, your host for the show. Today, we are in Huntsville, Alabama at WJOU on the campus of Oakwood University. And I've got a couple of guests here to tell us about that. Before we jump into the show, I want to encourage you, if you're watching the show on whether it's Facebook or whether it's on YouTube or some other place, please click like and hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Check and make sure you are. Sometimes people get unsubscribed without their knowing it. You know how databases can be. So if you do that, I sure would appreciate it. Also, take note of our sponsors, and if you'd patronize them, that would be just awesome. Heard a great success story from Angry Audio, one of our sponsors. Heard a great success story this past week. So thanks a lot to Catfish for passing that along. Okay, on with the show. Here we are at Oakwood University, WJOU, and I have with me a couple of guests that we'll talk with for a few minutes. First of all, we have Shauna Baker. Hi, Shauna.
Okay.
Donna.
My name is Donna.
Donna Baker. I'm sorry.
Donna Baker. Yes, general manager here at WJOU.
And how are you? How have you been connected to radio? Were you in radio before this job?
Oh yeah, I've been in radio since going to college back in the 80s. I mean, my bachelor's degree is in broadcast journalism. So while I was in college, I was working in radio. And after college, I worked in television as news reporter, anchor, and then went back into radio where I was program director, news director, general manager at another HBCU in South Carolina, WSSB. And at South Carolina State University. Yeah.
HBCU is historically black
college and university.
And we're at one now.
Yes, this is a HBCU founded in 1896.
Oh my gosh.
So we've been around for a long time. It's one of the few HBCUs that still has elementary. So we go from elementary all the way to college degree and master's. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's been around a long time.
And the station here, WJOU, started with different call letters.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So WOAK is how it started.
Oakwood, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
OAK. Yeah. So, and a student actually started, but he was also, I was actually just researching this, Ted Rivers. He actually was a professor here as well. And he started WOAK, which was from his dorm room. But he was teaching as well at some point. And so that station was actually in existence for students to train who were interested in going in radio. So it was only broadcast on the campus. So then WJOU came about and we moved. OCG, sorry, came about. And so then we started broadcasting outside of the university in a little blue house up the hill from the university, but on the campus, footprint of the campus. And from there, around the time we moved to our new location here, we became WJOU.
So Donna, what we're going to be asking you in a couple of minutes is about your process. You're not a real technical person,
No,
right?
I'm not. Please
Okay.
don't ask me technical questions. I will not be able to help you very well with that.
But in your leadership position,
Yeah.
the thought process and the management, you have to gather the information from technical people
Yes.
and make the decisions
Right.
as to how the station is going to get upgraded.
Right.
You're looking at doing several studios upgrades.
Yes, we're doing actually a major upgrade because, the station's been around since 1979,
Mhm.
and many of the equipment that we're using today, we were using back then, some
Yeah.
of, not all of it, but,
Yeah.
and so we're still very analog. And so we are upgrading and transitioning from analog to digital to HD radio, and we're expanding that to offer new independent programming. So we'll have, we'll be able to satisfy different audiences with different types of programming. So we'll have talk because we're going to be adding 3 additional channels, HD channels,
Oh, okay.
2, 3,
Okay.
and 4, which will be, so we're at Oakwood University. We are the premier HBCU
Mhm.
for artists, musical artists
yeah.
that come out of this university. And so we have a huge history and rich history of music here. And that's probably why we started with OAK and all that,
Yeah.
because we were getting that out. So we're going to have HD2, which is Oakwood Sound. So you might hear Take 6, you might hear Virtue, you might hear the World Choir of the world, the Aeolians.
Mhm.
You might hear spoken word because we are a Christian institution as well. So sermons and things like that. That's our HD2. Our HD3 is going to be contemporary gospel or urban gospel. And then we'll have a talk channel, which is all talk Christian, material and
Yeah.
programming. Yeah.
Okay. Well, in fact, I want to ask you a bit more about these expanded program offerings and
Yes.
why you did that, and then technically how it's going to get out to people. So we'll ask you about that in just a minute. Damian Malone. Hey, Damian, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to see you. I saw you at NAB.
Good.
Yeah.
It was a great time.
What's your job here at WJOU?
I am the program director, operations manager, assistant general manager.
Mm-hmm. And you came to NAB for the purpose of?
To talk to you. Well, actually, but in all seriousness, really to do some research because, as Donna mentioned, we're in the midst of a major overhaul of our equipment, and NAB is always the best place to go to talk to the most people at once, kind of put hands on things and kind of get some questions answered. So it was the logical choice to come in and kind of get some final, I guess, steps for the project that we're in the midst of doing right now.
Well, at NAB, everything's in one place, although it's one really big spread out place.
It is. It's definitely where you get your steps in.
Have your feet recovered yet?
Barely.
Yeah.
Barely.
All right. Well, we're going to be talking with Donna and with Damian about how they kind of managed, and as Donna, especially as a non-technical person, her thought process, and this is important for engineers because you're dealing with people all the time who are not technical, but you need to be able to explain things to them in a way that makes business sense and makes technical sense on the level that they need to understand it at. So we're going to have that. And then after we talk to Donna and Damian, we're going to have Josh Bone and Mike Hutchins come in, and they are going to talk about some details really on some technical solutions and how they're going to get done technically what Donna and Damian need to get done. I'm Kirk Harnack. It's This Week in Radio Tech. Take a quick break right here and hear from my friend Ricky Lee. Hey, it's Kirk Harnack, and I'm here with Ricky Lee, the CEO of Air. Ricky, you guys make a fantastic automation system, but streaming is a really big deal. Tell me about streaming with Air.
It really is. We've got a beautiful streaming platform with an incredible dashboard with fantastic analytics. And you can buy it for just $20 a month. All you can eat. No limits on bandwidth or bit rates. And you can also record shows as well. So if you like to deliver on-demand content for $20 a month, you can stream and deliver that on-demand content to an RSS feed that can feed your radio player, your mobile apps, or a podcast that people can download and enjoy.
Now, $20 a month, that must be for just some slow MP3, right?
No, MP3, AAC, and we also now support HLS, which is big in the industry right now.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. How do I start to explore or find out more about streaming through Air?
You go to air.com, AIIR.com/streaming. And from there, with a credit card, you can sign up and get started.
To Ricky Lee and everyone at AIIR.com. I know it's spelled funny because, the internet. and check them out. My stations, 21 of them, use Playout One, which is their automation system, and they have lots of other offerings, especially for content management on your website, for streaming. Just lots of solutions there at AIIR.com. Thanks a lot, Ricky, for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. I'm Kirk Harnack. We're live at WJOU FM on the campus of Oakwood University in Huntsville, Alabama. And Donna Baker is the general manager here. Donna, let's talk a bit about a little more detail. You're a non-technical person, as we learned earlier, but you have some important decisions to make. You don't want to go in the wrong direction, and everybody has an opinion. And of course, everybody is, a lot of people are selling what they think their solution is the best. So what kind of person, consultant, what are qualities in a person that you're looking for to trust their advice?
Wow, that's a huge question. What qualities? Well, honesty, first of all,
Yeah.
and someone that is really not just looking to sell products and to make money with selling products, and also someone who is very knowledgeable, because I am not a technical person, but someone I can go to and ask, questions, technical questions, and they can explain it to me in a way that I would understand.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking for, and who I'm working with for our project. And that's very important because I have to trust the individuals that they're not just trying to sell something to me because they want to make that money, but they're trying to sell something to me because they understand our need, where we're going, and how we can get there the most efficient way and cost-effective way.
I want to return to that topic in just a moment, because we've got a comment about how you and I met and got this process, well, at least in my eyes, got the process started. You already started on it. Let's talk about why you want to expand. I thought your story was very interesting because right now you have one FM station.
Right.
And of course, everybody wants to be a program director, don't they? Here's what you ought to play more of.
Right.
Yeah. So you recognize there's a need to serve the listening desires of a wider audience, but you don't want to have a hodgepodge of things on your current station.
Right.
So how does this work into expanding with more channels?
So we are a very unique station. I have to say that, first of all. And most HBCUs are kind of different, but we're even more different because our programming has always been very broad. So you can't like put us in a specific niche and just say, oh, that's what we do. Because we do a lot of different things here. Like I said, we do CCM, we do gospel, we do talk, and we do, spoken word.
And that's on this station right now?
On our FM station. Okay. So as an also an on-air personality in the mornings, I get calls, and even when I'm out in the community, I get into conversations where people are talking about, well, I need more talk. You need to have more in-depth conversations about whatever it is, Christian education or health issues or whatever it is, always with the religious or Christian angle. And then, I hear people saying, well, y'all play CCM, y'all play gospel, but I just want to hear gospel. And I would listen more if I heard more gospel.
Yeah.
And then, of course, because Oakwood University has birthed so many artists out of the university, it was always, well, we want to hear more of Oakwood sounds, people from Oakwood, sermons, music, recording artists, whatever.
Right.
So that's how we came up with the 3 channels and the programming it's really just segmenting what we know people listen to us for. So we're segmenting it out. So if you want to just hear WJOU's our lineup and the type of music that we select for gospel, then you'll be able to go to our HD channel.
Yeah.
One of our HD channels.
Right.
And if you just want to hear Oakwood sounds, you can go to to our other channel.
Okay.
And if you want to just hear talk and in-depth conversations, podcasts, and all those types of things, then you go to another one. So basically, we're not trying to recreate anything. We're just trying to segment and offer,
people more of what they want.
Give people more of what they want, basically. Yeah.
On their own individual channel.
Exactly,
Yeah,
on their
yeah.
own individual channel,
So
and still provide our FM channel that
Yeah.
we have now that people enjoy. But our audience is just so diverse, it's and we really I can't think of any other station that does it the way we do it.
Right.
So I feel like this is a great opportunity for us to really shape what we're doing, and maybe I don't know if it means coming up with a different terminology for what we do, and doing that well. I would love for that. And that's where we're working for, because you can't just say, oh, we're a CCM station. We're not just a CCM. You can't say we're just a HBCU gospel station, or we do so much. So we really have a different format, but it's working for us.
You plan on branding the HD2, the HD3, HD4 with their own logos and banners and things?
Yeah, I think we will be doing that. Yes, absolutely.
And what goes on these other channels, these other HD channels, you'll be streaming those as well. Right?
Yeah, those will be available as streams as well around the world, just like they can listen to FM right now everywhere around the world. They'll be able to listen to those new channels as well.
Now, all I can think of is you've done a lot of work, but I think your buddy here, Damien's got a lot of work ahead of him.
Yes.
Program director for one station now, trying to balance a lot of interests. Yeah. Here, tell you what, I don't want to reach across, so why don't you take the microphone, Damien?
Sure.
Talk to us about how the programming, what you're getting ready for. You're going to have some more automation systems.
Absolutely. So Donna kind of hit it on the head, where we're giving more of what our main signal, I guess, is kind of a smorgasbord of things, if you will. And the HD channels are really kind of an extension of those who tune in for this. Here's more of that. Those who tune in for this, here's more of that. And so while she was saying we're not necessarily recreating the wheel, but we are kind of expanding on what our main signal is. If you like the blend, the main signal will always be there. You'll always get, a variety of things, CCM, gospel, some talk, a good blend. If you want more of one of any of those, then some of these HD channels are going to suit you well. And of course, as we mentioned, we've got the streaming component of it. We've got, in addition to just the HD component. So programmatically, there's a lot of work ahead of us, but it's kind of, again, because we're not recreating the wheel, it's more of an extension of what we're doing and a parsing what we're doing. So we're already on the track. But
and you're going to be dealing with more music scheduling?
Yes.
Yeah.
So music scheduling for sure. So of course, one of the things we're looking at NAB is whether the current automation system that we have is best to service our needs for the future, because we are making this expansion. And of course, radio today, programming today is such that you gotta kind of have your software doing as much of the work for you as you can, so you can be as many places as you need to be.
Right.
And so that's an important thing. And you put, sorry, I didn't know if it can be heard or not from here, but
you're fine either way.
You put a lot of trust in your software these days, because it's important to the sound of your station. And so we're looking, NAB was great for that. And you gave me some advice as well on some things to consider. So we're definitely looking at some upgrades in that path as well.
I got a question, a slightly technical question for Donna, but I know you can answer it. You started making preparations a few years ago to upgrade your FM transmitter,
right?
And you've talked about this a lot. And I've got an offer from your retiring engineer, engineer, Don Roden, and Don is a terrific guy. I wish he'd be on camera, but he says he has a face for radio, and we're doing some TV here. But Don he's been trying to retire for a long time.
Yeah, he is. He is officially retired now, but he is part of the family. So he is still involved at the station, whenever we need him, and he's willing to just go and just check out things when necessary. So he is officially retired. Yeah.
But a few years ago, you decided we need to look at a new transmitter that can do HD. So how did that process go?
So that if anybody watching right now know about HBCUs or work at a university, you know how slow things happen. So that's typically our situation. So I've only been working on this for a year. Mm-hmm. So I became general manager just under 2 years.
Oh, okay.
So when I became general manager and getting acclimated into my new seat as manager and visionary of this station, I had to get caught up on different statuses of things that I had heard about that we were trying to do. One of them was to upgrade, increase our power, and to install an 8-bay antenna, and to install a new transmitter. Well, if most people probably listening, they know that you have 3 years to do that. And so when I became general manager, we had less than a year to get it done, and nothing had been done as far as. So we had purchased the transmitter, and and I'm saying nothing had been done or had moved. It wasn't in the position where it needed to be at the last year because of how things move on a university or college campus.
Yeah.
It's just a slow process.
Lots of approvals to happen.
Exactly. So when I became general manager, of course I had to meet this deadline. And so I did whatever needed to be done to get it moving forward. So we took it was about 8 months. We got the trench dug. We've got the line laid, the transmission line. We've got ERI installed our 8-bay antenna.
Oh, wow.
We had already purchased the Rhodian TWiRT, so it was just sitting in a box. And so we were able to install that and get it, and Don was able to get us hooked up and everything. And so really, we did all of that in like 10 months.
Yeah.
And then we got our our power was increased on November 20th
That was
of last year.
Okay.
So we met our deadline and
Okay.
everything, and the deadline was actually February 28th. And so we actually completed it early. Praise God. That was a lot.
Yeah.
So and trust me, I got sick after because I was running, I felt like 24 hours a day trying to get this project completed by any means necessary, basically. So, I was here late at night calling people, doing reports, or having conversations with different people. Thank God I do have still some colleagues in public radio, because I used to have a background in public radio as well, that I could call and say, hey, what do you think about this? Is this the right thing? Get some advice, and who should I move forward with? Who should I talk to? And so they were able at CPB and NPR to get me in contact with people to help me at least get this started and understand how to move it forward. So I put in tons of hours. And so we did that in 8 months, and then we got our power and everything up, antennas up. And so now this is where we are now to convert to HD and add on our HD channels and go digital as well.
I'm going to ask you to help me out a little bit, because you're on the air, so you know how to interview people, and you're on the air too, Damien, right?
On occasion.
On occasion.
Yeah, I'm making them get on.
I'm going to give them. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you and Damien a question, and I'm going to give you the microphone and let you talk to Damien about this. Okay. Here it is. So we're in a building here that is not gigantic. It's not all cramped. There's a lot of rooms here, and some of them are, they're all used for something. You tend to fill up the space you have, but you have, you're going to have a studio for each of these channels.
Right.
Now the studios may not all be live all the time, but you've got a studio dedicated for each brand, for each channel. Yeah. You've got a podcast studio. You've got a live performance room that you're going to be outfitting. So why don't you and Damien have a chat for our listeners to understand? We're in the control room now, and through the glass behind me is the is the production room. But there are other rooms here as well. Tell me what your vision is, because this is what Josh Bone and his company, the Integrators, are going to be doing. So to tell us about your plans for the rooms here. I'll give you the microphone, and you can get Damien to fill in where needed.
Okay, how are we going to do this? All right, so. Damien, let me just say, first of all, Damien has been with the station how many years now?
Probably about 20.
20 years. So I've only been with the station 7 years. Okay. And I started out, as you said, as the on-air morning announcer. And I've been that for the past 5 years. Right. And so, more than 5 now, but 5 strictly just on air, and then the last 2 as general manager and on air talent. Right. So he's been here 20 years, and tell us about when the conversation started about where we wanted to go, in doing this project.
Okay, so the HD transmitter, really I don't remember the exact model of the analog transmitter that we had. It was an old Harris transmitter that Don kept alive for way longer than it had any business running for. Don Roden, our chief engineer for 1,000 years. And so the inevitability of needing a transmitter was there. So that was a given. So when we kind of went to the school board to kind of explain, okay, we have this transmitter. Transmitters normally have a shelf life of this. Here's where we are. We're blowing through tubes, at this cost. From a cost-effective standpoint moving forward, as the owners of this radio station, fiduciarily, you probably want to, think about current technology, solid state transmitters, and kind of just, as you were mentioning, talking to people who are not really necessarily tech savvy or radio aware, saying this is what we have, this is what's out, this is what we need moving forward, consider this. So we had that conversation, and in the planning process, we were thinking of all the things we could get. It would be cool to get an HD transmitter because of the uniqueness of our audience and the uniqueness of the, I won't say the hodgepodge of programming, but the variants of programming that we have. So we always kind of thought, okay, HD is this, at the time when it was new, this is cool concept where you can, take stream 1 or stream 2 or 3 or 4 and do these things, even so much as, if we use it as leasing opportunities for other entities. So that was something that was presented to the board as well. So in that whole presentation, it was, here are all the possibilities of what we can do with this HD transmitter. We got to get a transmitter. That's a given. Right. So why not? We're spending the money. Why not get something that can do whatever we want and give us growth opportunities as well? So the board, approved, and we at the time, had priced out a Nautel transmitter actually. And I don't know, she mentioned earlier, we actually ended up getting a Rhodian Schwartz transmitter that was a bit more, because when we revisited the process, as she was speaking, the wheels of progress move a little slowly. So the original approval, came and kind of went, and by the time we were ready to move, we kind of reassessed some things, and our general manager at the time and Don kind of settled on, this is a better product, we think. So then we ended up going with the one that we currently have. So that's kind of how we got to the Rhodian Schwartz transmitter. Now, as we were mentioning, as far as the studios are concerned, we already had that plan in mind of, we're going to have, even before we knew what to do with each and every HD channel, we're going to, we're very much analog. Most of everything in here, if you could see, is it's dated. It's dated. It works for us. It's been great, but much like the transmitter, the shelf life on a lot of our equipment has come and gone, and it's time to step into the now. And so, in contacting you, Kirk, and kind of getting a feel for what's possible, because we have been analog for so long, and we've been in the state that we've been for so long, technology has changed so much that it's a learning curve for us, where we're reaching out to people like yourself to say, what's possible now and what makes sense now, and we're moving to become modern in all these ways. How do we accomplish that?
Right. So I have to say also, even though the wheels of progress were moving very slow, in that first year that I was general manager, the university really helped us get that project going, and they gave us $100,000 to get us started, because I was like, losing my mind trying to say, we got to move forward. I have no money. I have nothing, because of how we have been operating over the years. Really, the station just didn't have any cash flow. So I devised a plan to start creating some cash flow, and the university and I came to an agreement. They give us $100,000, I raise $100,000, and that's exactly how we got that done, where we are now, and how we're able to move through. Now, the other thing about it, the reason why we have so many studios and are intending to keep those studios and have them in use is because we are a university station. We are a training ground,
Of course. Yeah.
for those students who may be interested in going in broadcasting. So we have plenty of space, more than most radio stations would have, even in our market or anywhere else, unless they're a huge station. I mean, we've got square footage here that a large station would typically have, I think.
Right.
So, but we have it because our studios are going to be where some students can come in, they can go on the radio, they can go live, and they can have programs. They can be taught how to produce programs, how to talk on the radio, and they'll be able to go in any of our studios and do that, or they can do it from their dorm rooms.
Right.
Or they can go home in DC, or they can go to Mexico, whatever, and still be able to be on one of WJLU's channels and doing the work of an announcer or a production work or anything like that. So because we are a HBCU training ground radio station, we want to keep students coming through here. That's why we have so many studios, and we're going to continue to go in that direction.
With as part of this upgrade of the studios that we're here talking about today, you're going to have capabilities you didn't have before, especially flexibility.
Exactly.
Sometimes there's a concern about, everything you're building has got to be some ADA compliance.
Exactly.
So, but what if you have a guest coming in to be on one of your HD channels, and the main studio is where you'd normally bring anybody in, including somebody in a wheelchair, right? So you're going to be, even if there's a studio that won't accommodate a wheelchair fully because it's a small room, you could put that person in the big studio and they can participate fully with the program that's being produced in a different studio. That's one of the, I noticed, and a great analogy, you've got a printer out here in the hallway, right? And you can print to that printer from any computer here in the building. And that's what networked audio is. You can have a resource somewhere and bring those. And that's what we're going to be talking to Josh and Mike about in a few minutes. We're going to take a next break in just a minute. Is there anything else you'd like to add about this project? And I'm look, for a non-technical person, I just think you're handling this amazingly well.
Well, let me say something about that because, I don't like to talk technical speak because I know I'm going to get something. And I always say that before. I'm not a technical person. I'm not an engineer, but this is what I'm thinking. So I do have a lot of vision, and I have an understanding of how things can work and how I would like to see them work. So then I go and talk to my folks like you or my folks from NPR or CPB and say, is this a real thing, or I'm just making this up, because, and they'll say, no, this is what you're talking about. So, but the reason why we move toward in the direction of a triple helix is because this is the other reason why, because I want a integrator that's going to do the rebuild. And if you work in turnkey, because if you work in a university or college, you've got write-off, sign-off here, paperwork here, for all these multiple vendors and stuff. So I want to skip that process and have an integrator or a middle person there who is actually going to do the build and also going to make the connections and get the invoices or whatever needed from the other companies. Because this is what I like about it. They're not just going with one company. They probably won't be going with one company. They're going to go with whatever model works best for our station.
What mix of equipment.
What mix of equipment works best for what we're trying to do and what we want to do. So that's why we have selected Triple Helix.
And so a few months ago, I came down here and we met, and I suggested, okay, here's all the Telos and Omnia and Axia equipment that would do what you want to do. But Donna, you wanted something installed, and I work full time for Telos. I do a little installation of my own radio stations, but I can't take a month off from Telos to install this stuff. And it may be that someone who does installations as all they do as full time, that may be a better choice anyway for getting your project done. And it certainly is.
Right.
So in a few minutes, in fact, I hope they're hanging around outside here because after this commercial break, we're going to talk to Josh Bone. Now, he has his own company, Max Connect, but you mentioned Triple Helix. That's a collection of 3 different companies that have gotten together and said, hey, we're like the 3 Musketeers. We can be strong together.
Right. So you got it. But I think you understand. You just explained it. I just want to be clear that, so that's why we've gone with Connects.
Max Connect.
Max Connect.
Triple Helix.
Yeah. Same thing. Yeah. But yeah, they can provide us, access to whatever we need and make sure that when they install and rebuild us, it's a turnkey. And that's what I want.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And in fact, turnkey, Josh and his crew will build it, test it out, make sure it meets your specs, and then literally hand the figuratively hand the keys.
Also going to be helping us. We'll see, whether they're going to be our engineers, because as you know, small stations like ours are really challenged with having an engineer on board. Don, like we said, we've already established, has retired already. Yeah. So he won't be available as much, as he has been. So we need an engineer. And so they're able to have provide for us engineering services as we need. That's why it's also very important for us to get that turnkey, because it'll be set up and hopefully we pray we won't have as many engineering emergencies or issues that are going to require, daily, monitoring or monthly. We want it to work and not break down on us, not stop working, and all these details that go in.
I just moved 8 radio stations on the island of Maui.
Okay.
And I can tell you that, and we used almost all new equipment, a few things we brought over from the old place, but there's always either infant mortality or things that you hadn't thought of, or a disc jockey wants to do something differently than what you thought he would.
Right.
So there's always some small emergencies to handle at first. Absolutely. But once those get smoothed out, it's smooth sailing for typically a long time.
Right. Yeah. And that's what we're hoping for. Yes. And we understand starting out it's going to probably be a little bumps and skips and things like that, but we know in the long term it's going to probably be the best decision.
In fact, Josh and his crew, they do this upgrade. A few months from now, you're all settled. It's all new. What are we going to do when we're up there in our 80s, and we want to, it's getting old. We got to do this again.
Right. Well, I don't know what we'll do then. When we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. Right. It might be another crew.
You may have handed the keys to somebody else by then.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, it's This Week in Radio Tech. I'm Kirk Harnack. Damian Malone is here with us. Donna Baker is with us here, too. They run this radio station. Donna's the manager, and the program director is Damian. Hey, we're going to take a break. When we come back, there are going to be 2 different people sitting here, Josh Bone and Mike Hutchins, and they're going to talk technical details about accomplishing the vision that Donna and Damian have. Our show This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part by Innovonics and Suncast. I'm going to ask him to bring up the webpage for the Sophia receiver that we that are in the show notes today. There we go. It's the Sophia HD Radio Site Streamer. Hey, can you guys go get Josh? Okay, appreciate you spending some time here. Hey, this HD Radio Site Streamer. In fact, I don't know if this is on the equipment list for WJOU, but something like this needs to be. And I've got one of these Sophia 568 site streamers at my own radio stations in Maui, because we want to be able to remotely monitor our HD channels, and this will let you monitor them one at a time. I wouldn't mind getting a few of these, actually. We've got one, and we can remotely control the receiver. It'll show us our RDS feed, but it'll also show us our pad feed on the HD stations. And from Nashville, Tennessee, or even from here in Huntsville, Alabama, I can listen to any of our HD stations on Maui. This is the Sophia HD Radio Site Streamer, and it's from Innovonics. You can try this out, by the way, if you go to the Innovonics website, and we'll have a link to that in the show notes, or you can Google that, Innovonics Broadcast, and you can try this out. They have all these demos online on their website for their a lot of their equipment. Not everything is there, but most things are. And you can, by the way, you can also check out, if you do artist experience, if you do the album cover art, you can see that also on the web interface. This is from Innovonics. Love this thing, and I really appreciate the folks at Innovonics for making such amazing equipment that it just works really well. We've got a bunch of Innovonics gear at our stations across our 21 stations, and the stuff just works really well. I love their web interfaces. They're pretty. They work well. You can set up alarms for dead air, for loss of pilot, for example, for loss of RDS or pad data. It does everything that you would want to do to get you alerted to a problem, and lets you enjoy the music while if you want to do that too. It's available from our friends at Broadcasters General Store. The website, bgs.cc, bgs.cc for Broadcasters General Store. And they have a huge range of equipment. You can buy audio consoles, you can buy transmitters, you can buy television cameras and lighting, headsets. Hey, sports season is going to be back in just a few months, just at the end of summer. And you're going to want your headsets to be in great shape, your remote kits to be in great shape. So check all this out. Love these folks at Broadcasters General Store. They've been my friends for years. They ought to be your friends too. You can call them at 352-622-7700 for Broadcasters General Store. And look, like magic, we turned Damien and Donna into Mike and Josh. Welcome into the show. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. It's been a while since you've been on, but it's good to see you.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mike, you've been on before. Were you in Indianapolis when we had you on before?
No, I was sitting in Josh's chair.
Oh, you were? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
We did a quick change. He decided to bail and said, "Here, you sit here." So we surprised you.
Well, excuse me for not remembering correctly. I'm an old man, so you can.
We won't talk about how old Kirk is.
All right. So we got a lot of the setup here and about how Donna Baker, how she analyzed. She realized pretty quickly that even though Kirk's a nice guy and could recommend a lot of equipment, Kirk wasn't going to be able to install this stuff. That's somebody else's job. And I suggested you need to find a company that does integration. That's what we call it in our industry. So when I contacted you, and finally we got you and Donna Baker and Damien together, then Damien came out to the NAB show, met you guys out there. Let's kind of look at the big picture for a minute. Talk to us about integration and why, frankly, now more than ever, why integration is really important to our industry. And can I just hand you the microphone?
Absolutely.
And if you want to bring Mike in the conversation, go ahead.
I'm gonna have Mike start it. Okay. I'll hold the mic so you don't have to, Mike.
Okay.
It's Mike's mic.
Okay. So, well, in the world of broadcast equipment and radio in general, broadcast in general, things are changing. They're changing very rapidly, and it can be, a little bit difficult for local stations, local engineers to be up to speed on everything that's out there. And, there is also a lot in our industry of, well, this is the way we've always done it.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
So, one of the services that we feel, that we offer, and it's a big reason why we're down here today, is, it's one thing to say, hey, we want to put a new console in. Like, okay, well, this is an opportunity to let's examine your entire operation and let's make sure that we are getting you the studio that you need that fits your needs. What are those things that are little irritants to you that we can improve on? And, even just standing in a room, you can go, well, what are we doing about phones? What are we doing about codecs? And it helps us with the customer develop a total package that will meet their goals. Because, as you were talking with Donna and Damien, they have some very specific goals and some very specific things of how they want to expand their service. And, we're delighted to be here and help them achieve those goals.
These specifics are pretty typical. I mean, you rarely would go to a radio station, mom and pop station, medium market station, and they say, just build us a radio station. Now, they have specific things that they want to accomplish. Some of it, I suppose, is based on the way they've always done it, what they're accustomed to. A lot of it, though, is based upon their programming and how they envision executing that programming. Well, we do a talk show every day, or we do a talk show once a year. So there's a difference in how you're going to accommodate that, isn't there?
Absolutely. And, with them also being a non-com, there are some other considerations with that, how do we handle their pledge drives for them? How do we make sure that, everything in their studio facility is cohesive? And, as I've said a couple times that we've been meeting with them, like, our whole goal is let's get you back to making great content and not thinking about how you make it.
Yeah. You said something earlier in what you were talking about, and you said that a lot of local station engineers, or maybe even a contract engineer who's taken care of a station for a number of years, they may not that they're not aware of what's out there. There's all the industry trade magazines. If you go to an NAB show, you see the stuff. But what are you most familiar with? It's the stuff that's at your station. What are you comfortable with? Because it's some pieces of equipment are the devil, You know what goes wrong with it. You know what goes right with it. But what is scary, and it's scary to me too, is here's a new whiz bang cool piece of equipment or a new computer system that does something really neat. I work for Telos, and we have all of these as an option, containerized broadcast stuff. Well, if you don't know about it, what mistake am I going to make in making that work? So there is this comfort level that people fall into. As a company that does integration, you see a lot of stuff, right? What's that guy say on TV? We know a lot because we've seen a lot.
That's right.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and we like to think that our experience with previous customers will help our future customers.
Right. Exactly.
Because inevitably there are challenges and pitfalls, or you come upon someone that's like, well, that is a really creative and unique way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's help carry that forward to other people. And we're always trying to learn and use that experience to make sure that we build the best possible facility for every one of our customers.
When we first all came in here, and I kind of asked Donna this question earlier, but they pivoted to a good answer, something else though. You've got some rooms here. Some are on the air. Some are sort of little just fiddle around studios. What will this place look like when you get done with it? What's their goal in terms of functionality and different rooms?
A lot different than now.
Oh,
No. So the main on air studio that we're in right now will still continue to be the main on air studio for the main channel of WJOU. Equipment will be upgraded, furniture will be replaced and upgraded, but overall this will still continue to be their main broadcast studio for the terrestrial FM HD1.
right.
The HD2 and 3 studios will actually be behind us, behind that wall. They're smaller. They want to do more Oakwood focused programming on their HD2, and then they want to do more of a gospel programming on their HD3. They anticipate having live people on both of those, so we'll give them studios and have the ability to run from there. But also, they don't need to be large studios because they'll also double as production rooms and things like that. Then their HD4, they want to do a talk format. I know Donna talked about that.
Right.
And they want to do a talk format where they have different talk programs that are local to Huntsville or specific to the university, as well as podcasts and things like that. And the studio that's directly behind this one through the big glass window there is actually, I think it's larger than this studio is.
It is.
So what we proposed to them was actually taking that studio and turning it into the talk studio, because then it can double duty as a talk studio for the main station because you've got the big window, but it can also be the primary studio for their HD4 talk format. And that way you can get double the bang out of that and then move their production into the larger of the 3 small rooms in the back where they can do production, record underwriting announcements, and whatever else. So the layout of this will be a lot more cohesive than what they have now, because they've had to make do with what they have. We're gonna give them a complete system.
So when in talking with them, and I met with them 8 or 9 months ago, and we talked about traditional audio consoles hardware. We talked about glass-based touchscreen consoles, soft consoles, and I just installed some soft consoles in Oxford, Mississippi, at our station there. Guy loves them. In Hawaii, we went with some smaller Axia Radius consoles. How do you approach a customer because for most customers, a touchscreen console would be a new concept, and a lot of people think they don't want that. Now, maybe they really don't want that. Maybe they just think they don't want that. How does a conversation go for you guys with a customer? And I know that you want to provide them with what they want and what's going to work well for them. And if you think they're making a really bad decision, you'll talk to them about that, right? No, you're going to need more than 4 faders for this room. Now, for for an HD4 room where you've got an announcer and an automation and a production computer, maybe a 4 fader console would actually be okay. Yeah. How do you have that conversation with your customers in deciding what to do? The folks that here at WJOU, there's a radio systems console here, and that's exactly what they know. They haven't really used anything else. unless they've been to other stations. What's your conversation?
Well, I know I've run into any of the instances where we've talked to someone about a virtual console. Typically, the reaction is immediately what you said. I don't want that. I can't. I'm never going to be able to figure out how to run that. I can't feel anything. Well, you don't need to feel anything. I mean, everybody thinks they need the haptic feedback, but after a while, that muscle memory kind of kicks in. And I know that you've done quite a few studios with the glass consoles and the virtual consoles, and you've had a very different experience.
Yeah, because what you guys have both said is exactly correct. The gut reaction is, no, I don't want that. It's like, well, try it. And usually after a day or so, like, okay, do you want me to take this away and put a physical console in? No, I don't.
Really?
Because, the ability to customize layouts can happen instantaneously. You can, have macros fire in your automation system to change the board layout to suit whatever jock is on the air at that time. We can have commands in there to assist the jock with, maybe they always forget to turn their microphone off when they go to commercials. Okay.
Start the commercials, mic goes off.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
These are all things that when you're in the virtual environment, the world is your oyster. We can make that thing do just about anything you want. And that versatility and functionality is something people immediately fall in love with.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of station managers and engineers, actually, when you point out, like, well, we've all had to deal with someone dumped a Coke in the console. Okay. You dump a Coke in that radio systems console, you were in for a bad day.
Yeah. And week, maybe.
Yes. You dump a Coke into your glass console, you're out of touchscreen.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the butt, but in the grand scheme of things, not really.
Go ahead, John.
Well, no, I was going to say, and one of the things that I know, because I've had people ask me, when they think of touchscreens, they think of old single point touchscreens. And like the old capacitive touchscreens that we used with Scott Studios, early Media Touch and things like that. And that if that's their only experience, it's like, how am I supposed to? I need to be able to move multiple faders at a time and things like that. With modern 10-point touch, you can do everything you would ever do on a physical console and more with a 10-point touchscreen and that virtual console. It's a lot more similar because I never thought I would like them either. And I had the opportunity to play one a couple of months ago. Yeah. And I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
And then when you're, if you don't, when you're done with it, boop, bye. You can actually multi-purpose that machine.
Right.
So depending on what you're using, for a dedicated console for a room, it would stay open all the time. But in my experience with what I was doing, I actually ran it on my desktop.
Right.
And so
where you work anyway.
Where I work anyway.
Where you have a computer anyway.
Correct. So it ran there, and when I was done with it, I closed it. And it was great. Yeah. So then I didn't have to worry about it. I'm not taking up real estate on the desk, and I don't have to worry about knocking my drink into it because I never knock my drink over into my computer. So
and you don't have to worry about accidentally knocking your station off.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So
hey guys, we're talking here with Josh Bone and Mike Hutchins, both with Max Connect, and they're part of a larger group called Triple Helix, as Donna referred to earlier. And we're talking about integration, decisions that are made in that direction. I learned something today from you about the Comrex VIP phone system and decisions around that. And this is good. Kirk learned something today. We'll be back to tell you something about that in just a minute. Our show This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part by Broadcast Bionics. Dan McQuillan, my favorite Brit. He's over there with his team developing cool new things. And one of them is Camera One. We'll be right back.
Camera One from Broadcast Bionics. Designed to bring video to your audio content. Visualizing radio and podcasts for social media. Camera One can automatically create, capture and brand professionally switched video for live streaming or upload, making your production shareable. Control and configure using a web browser on any device. Camera One is available as a 4-camera or 8-camera system using the Blackmagic A10 Mini range, including the A10 Mini Extreme. You can use cameras to suit your studio and your budget. You'll need one camera for a studio wide shot and usually one camera per microphone. A standard multi-channel sound card or IP driver monitors audio from each studio microphone, and we work natively with Axia systems. Ideally, this will be a post-fader feed from each mic, although you can use pre-fade audio or a mic split if that's all you have available. These audio levels are used to intelligently switch the video feed when each contributor is talking. You can also group microphones together into one shot and use the audio from a mixer's aux bus. You can use Camera One's auto switch feature, or disable it and switch using the on-screen buttons or the buttons on the ATEM. Recordings can automatically start when you tell the system you're on the air. This on-air indication can be linked to your studio's red lights via IP or an Avantec ADAM GPIO interface. You can quickly browse all the videos that have been automatically created during your broadcast, download them and post. Camera One is a user installable system. You'll need a good spec Windows 10 PC, i7 with plenty of storage and 16 gig of RAM. It's better if this machine isn't used for anything else. Remember, you can control the software in a web browser on another device on your network. Camera One, a thrifty way of creating scroll-stopping video from your show or podcast from Broadcast Bionics.
And you can get Camera One from Broadcast Bionics from any of their dealers in the U.S. or around the world. They make a lot of cool stuff, software especially, that helps you make better radio without doing anything extra. It's like your own personal assistant. Especially all the studio stuff, the Bionic Studio. Hey, thanks a lot for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. Thanks to Dan McQuillan and his whole team there. I'm Kirk Harnack. We're live today at WJOU on the campus of Oakwood University, talking to Josh and Mike here. And we were just talking about a couple of things. I learned something from you guys today. We'll hit that first. When I came in here 9 months ago, of course, I wanted to put a new Telos phone system in for their on-air operations, and partly because I had just put one in Mississippi. It works great, and I wanted also it was going to be a virtualized Telos VXS, which would just fit right into a server that we were planning anyway. So it would be a small lift, if you would, financially and intellectually and work-wise, to get a Telos VX phone system in. You know what I didn't do? I didn't do my due diligence for this place. And you guys did. You noticed that they have another phone system that, frankly, is, at the moment, perfectly serviceable.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a Comrex Stack VIP, which it's a discontinued phone system.
Yeah.
But it's still perfectly functional.
Yeah.
They've got SIP service into here. It's reliable. It does what they need. They've also got POTS service into here, which we're going to work on migrating over to a SIP service. Right. But it'll give them 6 lines. It gives them the functionality that they need on the air. So that's another thing that we were able to look at and go, okay, in this particular build, you don't need to buy a phone system. Yeah. Obviously, if they had old Gentner hybrids or something like that, then obviously, yes, a VX of some flavor would make the most sense.
Right.
So, but in the interest of keeping them within their budget, because again, we need to make sure that she has enough cushion in her budget for anything unexpected that pops up. Mm-hmm. Because, anybody that's done integration knows whether you're doing it for your company or whether you're doing it as a contract, you dig into something, there's a pretty good chance you're going to hit something and go, oh, I never expected that to happen. Or, oh, that wasn't there before, or something along those lines. And then you have to go back to the manager and say, yeah, now we need to do X. And when there's no money left in the budget because it was all allocated for what you're doing, then okay. And if you get to the end and you do still have some money left, hey, is there anything else you'd like to do because you've got some budget left?
Yeah. So
this is one of those deals where this is something that we are not being forced to replace right now. And that's a win. At least in my world, it's a win.
I think one of the interesting conversations that I had with them a few months ago, and we had again today, was when you're explaining how a room is going to work or what equipment you might be proposing or thinking of putting in there to accomplish their goals, the customer, and many times this happens with engineers who haven't done audio over IP yet, they're still thinking in terms of solutions that are equivalent to what they're doing now. And so, for example, they wanted to be able to dub old shows that were still on cassette into their digital automation system. And they were kind of thinking they need a whole room to do that. And you could use a whole room to do that, but you could also, even if it's a small room, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you could also dub stuff while you're on the air doing something else by proper routing through the console or whatever. Talk to me about maybe an experience or two you've had about where you've really had to help the customer understand, you know, if we were working with the same old rules we always had to before, that would be true. But let me tell you what we can do now. Can you think of any examples where
just the overall flexibility in today's systems, working with folks who have only ever worked in the analog world, it can be difficult to explain and make anybody understand all the capabilities that are in an AOIP system. And because that was one of the discussions that we all had earlier, is to try to build this in the analog world. We're looking at hundreds of feet of multi-conductor snake cable at $7 a foot, not to mention the labor to have to pull that. When in reality, we could do this with a couple of edge switches, a small core switch, and probably less than 1,000 feet of Cat5. And and everything rides over that. The logic, the audio, all of it. It's all there. We all remember back in the day whenever, oh, hey, here's the audio trunk cable. Oh, and over here's the logic trunk cable. And they're on separate punch blocks. And this one goes to this studio. But, you got this one mixed up. So the one that's beside that block for this studio doesn't go to that studio. That one's over here. And we just encountered that yesterday at a facility that we visited. Things that were mislabeled and backward, and Studio J is actually Studio K. They mislabeled it and never fixed it. But the previous engineer knew that. So we're telling you so that you know that. And with AOIP, as long as you've got a Cat5 that's properly marked as to what network it goes to, not really a lot of question about what it does. So, and I'm sure, in your plethora of studio construction and conversion, what have you run into as far as, making people understand you can do this now, you don't have to do it this way?
I mean, it's a big leap for people to understand that, if you had a 5-station cluster, well, we needed 5 on-air studios and 5 production studios to support those on-air studios.
Right.
And that's really not the case
anymore. One console
anymore.
per radio station, at least.
Right. Yeah. Where now, if you've got a good audio over IP system, automation, and, a VX phone system, well, you could run a 5-station cluster with 1 or 2 on-air studios.
8 stations in Maui, sure.
Where it, the on-air studio is whoever it needs to be at the moment it needs to be that.
Exactly. Yep.
I mean, there's a major broadcast group that we're all familiar with that have, condensed their studios down to sometimes as few as 4 per market. And and those are multi-use studios, and they're beautiful, but it's 4 studios for a market that might have, including translators and HDs, might have 8 signals. And these are the 4 studios that are allocated. And then there's other broadcast groups and small groups and things like that we're about to start a couple of projects for that, they're still doing 1 station per studio and then shared production rooms. So they're still I would say it's still a mixed bag. There are some companies that still want to do it more traditionally, but there are others that have gone, no, we're going to embrace the abilities of the technology and use that to downsize their footprint.
Part of you brought up a point today when we mentioned that you don't absolutely have to have these studios. You brought up a point. Well, this is a university radio station. There are patrons and donors, and sometimes it's important to look impressive. Well, one nice thing is you can look impressive today without spending nearly as much money as you used to spend. Touch screens look impressive, especially if they're big. You can get a 102-inch television, or at least a 95-inch television at Costco for $1,500. Put that in the lobby and have promotional messages running on that.
75-inch television for $350 at Walmart.
You can have it look really, really good. Tell you what, we're going to take our last commercial break right now, and when we come back, we'll have a few closing words, some ideas, technical ideas about this facility, because we do have what they call a hard out in 8 minutes. So, all right, and stand by though, don't leave, because we're going to talk about Max Connect and whatever you want to talk about from a commercial point of view in just a minute. Okay. Yeah, and if you want to save the STL for after,
That's fine.
That's fine too. So
That's fine.
you'll get extra value today.
Yeehaw. All right.
Our show this week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part by Angry Audio. I was just at Angry Audio a couple of days ago and visited Catfish, and I want to talk to you about their Rave audio console. Now, there's nothing digital in this console. Okay, the buttons go on and off, but there's no digital audio in the Rave console. What you do get is an analog console of the absolute highest audio quality, because Mike Dosh is a fantastic audio designer. Worked at PR&E and designed consoles there for years, designed a lot of musical equipment, and knows what he's doing. Well, the Rave console, 8 faders, here we go, eight faders on it, and it's got the connectors on it that are so easy and quick to install. It'll do 4 microphones. It'll do, and then those mic inputs will also do line inputs. So you can choose mic or line, but it'll handle 4 mics. It's got 4 preamplifiers built into it. On-off button, of course, for every fader. It does muting on the control room monitor output. It has different buses that you can assign audio to, of course. Kind of cool. The control room monitor fader is a linear fader, and so is the headphone fader. So that's actually kind of cool. On the back side of this thing, it's got the Studio Hub connectors, and that means it is quick to install. Really quick. There's no soldering, no fumbling with tiny little connectors. You just crimp or use your adapters. Use the Studio Hub adapters if you need that. Of course, the mic inputs, those are on XLR connectors because people demand that. They like having mics on XLR connectors. It does have a tally output. It has a mix minus output for your codec or for your phone. In fact, I think it has 2 mix minus outputs. External monitor inputs, you can easily, in your speakers, monitor your off-air signal, monitor something different in your headphones. This thing is really well built. I mean, honestly, I've been telling people, if you put one of these Rave consoles in, you're going to retire before it's finished working, because it's just going to keep on going and going and going. The design of this thing is just incredibly intelligent and solid. Check it out from Angry Audio. The website is angryaudio.com. Stand by for some cool announcements from Angry Audio coming up. Another sponsor that I want to tell you about, that Josh is going to tell you about, is Max Connect. And Max Connect, you guys started out, at least in my world, with this wireless service, guaranteed packet delivery. By golly, it just works where other things don't. What would you like to tell us about Max Connect and your offerings now?
Well, we've still got the prioritized wireless on all 3 carriers. Works all. We've got couple thousand of them deployed across the U.S. Lots of satisfied customers. We also have satellite offerings now. So we've partnered with Viasat. We have lots of different satellite offerings. We also offer some international services now. So international viewers, can inquire with us and fill out one of our online forms, and we can see if there's service available in your area.
Yeah.
So we've got a bunch of different offerings there. We've also delved out into other We've also delved down into other products. Yeah. We've got a multi-tuner system that's great for EAS monitoring or multi-station cluster monitoring, and we've also got a 950 STL that we're about to release.
Let's tell you what. Let's bust the 1-minute commercial limit here and talk about this 950 STL, because you've been talking about this for a while. And it's finally come to fruition, right?
Yeah, it's we've had it for a while. The challenge, with anything that is developed in the RF spectrum, it's got to be FCC type accepted. So that's been the challenge for the last year. Is I had to figure out how to do that. So now that we've gotten our way to figure out how to do that, we should have that released here. I'm thinking in the next couple of weeks we should be able to start shipping those. So. Mike gave some really great tours of the STL at NAB, so I'm going to let him tell everybody about it.
Mike, we've got about 2 minutes, so give us the bullet points.
I'll be brief. So it's a 950 STL, like a lot of us know and love. There's still a viable solution for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. This thing features a 15-watt radio, so it's got quite a bit of power to punch through what you need. It's one of the only STLs out there that I'm aware of that has web capability built into it.
Oh, wow.
Both transmitter and receiver.
Oh, wow.
Including silence monitoring, the RF field monitoring. So, you can have that thing send you an email if the transmitter dies or a big tree grows up suddenly overnight.
Yeah.
So we're really excited about it. We feel it's priced pretty competitively for the features that you get. Also in their SNMP capabilities in it.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So if you have an SNMP monitor that you like, now you can monitor everything about it, including the frequency that it's operating at, and it'll plug right into the coax that you already have.
Yep.
And depending on your needs, out of the box, it'll do composite audio from one end to the other.
Mhm.
If you have a need to move analog or AES audio, talk to us when you're ordering it. We can make that happen for you too.
Wow. So this is from Max Connect, the website.
Yep. MaxConnect.com. And the nice thing, they ship from right here in Alabama, and we support them here as well. So when you call for support, you're going to get one of our in-house support folks to kind of get you through any kind of setup or challenges or anything like that. So yeah.
You know, I'm often a big fan of IP solutions for STL, but there are times and places when a 950 megahertz STL is robust, it's reliable, it's licensed. Nobody's supposed to be on your frequency, at least not in your path. But if they are, I think you can change frequencies to one you're not authorized for remotely on the web interface.
We won't ever talk about ever doing that. No, never done that.
Hey, we got to go. I'm being given the wrap signal, so I want to thank Suncast for producing today's show at a little bit of an odd time. Thank you, odd birds, for showing up at an odd time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for hosting us on your odd show. Yes.
Thank you for having us, and thank you to WJOU.
Yeah,
Indeed.
absolutely.
All right, we got to go. We'll see you next week on This Week in Radio Tech. Bye-bye.